Oh, thank the Lord. Yo, 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 what up, guys?
What's up?
Welcome, everyone, to Deep Edition Sports Episode 2, Season 2. We have a special one in the books today. I was going to kind of anticipate the introduction, but I couldn't figure out a way to hide his face before we started the episode. Nothing against you, Greg. Your face is gorgeous.
Right. You want to have that beautiful face.
Whether you like it or not, here it is.
But yeah, so like I said, welcome everyone to Deep Dish and Sports Episode 2. We have a dope episode today. We're gonna talk Bulls like we promised last week on Episode 1. We still have not talked about Bulls yet at all. We haven't talked about the new additions. We haven't talked about the season and how it's going, our thoughts, anything. So we'll touch on that later. But we brought our buddy, Greg Braggs, onto the podcast just to give a small introduction on our guy. If you don't know who he is, if you're living under a rock and you're a Chicago sports fan. But the guy is the host of an awesome podcast called Braggs in the Stands. And if you guys don't follow him, I suggest you go subscribe to his YouTube channel. They're live. How often do you guys record?
I just when I can.
When you can. Okay,
I got
I
a
feel that.
4-year-old girl. Almost turning
Life
4 at
happens.
home. So
Say less.
that's the beauty of doing your own thing. Do it when you can.
I hear that.
I certainly try to do it weekly, but we have gone against that rule here lately. But I appreciate it. Yeah, it's on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you hear my big mouth. It's somewhere, mostly on Twitter.
Yeah, and he's also a Bears Twitter legend because the Bears training camp videos, I think, is what you're most notorious for.
Yes.
They're just awesome content. It's basically like just sitting in. You don't even have to go to training camp
I know.
when you follow Greg. You just watch all his videos. He has great content. But yeah, definitely go follow his podcast on YouTube, Braggs in the Stands, and go hit up Greg Braggs on Twitter as well. What's your handle? Should give me a
At
shout out.
G Braggs Jr. 23. So
Great follow. Great follow.
appreciate it, man.
Definitely,
We have fun.
yeah.
I have fun on there. On the mean streets of Bears Twitter.
Hey man, like
Sometimes.
your sports thoughts is one thing, but your interactions with people, man,
It's hilarious.
Sometimes
it's great.
I'm
And
interacting too much.
I have to give you props because man, I wish I had your patience because the way some people tweet at you,
my
bro,
God. Yeah.
it's just you're a better man than me. I will
They act
say
like
that.
Greg's the GM of the Bears.
People get real upset.
like he's making all the decisions for Chicago Bears
people
right
get
now.
real upset. They're like, "This is the dumbest thing I ever heard." I'm like, "Stick around. I got plenty more where that came from."
Man, yeah, we love it though. We love it. Yeah. Anyway, speaking of the Bears and their GM, supposed GM, want to get your thoughts. So, man, since we recorded last week, the Bears just ended their game, their loss to the Vikings. We haven't even heard from George McCaskey yet, so we haven't even talked George McCaskey and his presser and how that went. I don't want to get into details because obviously it was, you could just copy paste the presser from the end of 2020 into this year, and it was just, man, headache inducing.
Well, can I just say the only difference was the fact that he made it a point to make Olin Kreutz look really bad. So
Yeah,
that's because he had to add Olin Kreutz.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the bullet points are he's talking crap to a Bears legend that everyone adores.
Yeah.
He went at the fans to start the whole presser while also coinciding it with the loss of Jeff Dickerson and bringing up his son
man.
and like
Just-
comparing
yeah.
the two between kids in high school chanting at Nagy's kids and Jeff Dickerson's kid being the same age, which I thought was in very poor taste.
Very.
And then, highlighted, of course, overall on the football aspect of everything when he says, I'm going to now evaluate the GM and the head coach. I'm just a fan, but I'm also the owner, and the people that evaluate me are the executive board, who consists of his entire family and his mother. So
Exactly.
that's
Exactly.
something to be very concerned about if
Yep.
you're a Bears fan, because
Yeah.
the structure isn't exactly what the Bulls or some other teams have done correctly here as of lately. So hopefully
Yeah.
the Bears can get lucky and get it right.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. That is to kind of touch on that a little bit more, the structure. And it's definitely reminiscent of the 2015 structure that the Bears ownership used. They brought in what's his face,
Ernie Accorsi.
Ernie Accorsi,
Mhm.
to help them hire a GM and head coach, and now basically they're replacing Ernie Accorsi with
Bill Polian.
Bill Polian, who of course is his accomplishments are definitely a lot longer, more impressive than Ernie Accorsi, more accomplished. But Bill Polian's still 80 years old, hasn't been involved with a NFL organization since 2011, I think it is.
Yep.
Um,
And more
so you,
importantly, just like Ernie and Accorsi, has no skin in the game with the Bears.
Exactly.
He can sit on the side and make as many suggestions as he wants to George, and George must be like, thank you, Bill,
Yeah.
you're so smart. But at the end of the
Right.
day, if this doesn't go right the same way it didn't go right for Ernie Accorsi's suggestions, was
repercussion.
Ernie Accorsi at the presser here last week when they
Right.
fired everybody? No, he wasn't. So he didn't have anything to answer for, and neither will Bill Polian if this doesn't go right. I want
Exactly.
guys that are making decisions for my football team to have some skin in the game, because
Exactly.
then it's money on the table time when you make a decision like that.
Yep. Yep.
Exactly. Great. That's a great point. And yeah, I mean, the guy comes in, gives all of his recommendations and whatever, but at the end of the day, he goes home and
That's
he
it.
has
That's
he has
it.
nothing on the line. You would like if they brought in Bill Polian as their vice president of football operations on, the 2-year deal, whatever it is. It's a little bit more understanding at that
Right.
point, because then you're
Right.
like, okay, this guy actually works for the Bears.
Mhm.
And when you think about it, I heard this point somewhere, I think it was Waddle and Sylvie, but they're to kind of like get a grasp on the Bears organization, you have to be in the building for at least a year, at least,
Right.
to get a feel for what the Bears need
Right.
and to get a feel for just how badly of a turnaround, a complete 180 that this organization needs.
Right.
So you bring in a guy. Apparently, he's. I think George said that Bill has been, kind of at George's side for the last couple months, and he had something to do with the firing of both Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace, because we all knew that Matt Nagy was going to get fired. We were kind of questioning on whether or not Ryan Pace would also follow him out the door. And then we find out that he does get fired, and Bill Polian might have something to. We're grateful. Thank you, Bill. But there's still a lot of work to do. Now, Greg, the question that I had for you was, do you think George's presser and how bad it was and how embarrassing it was for the organization as a whole, do you think it has an effect on the hiring of the potential GM and head coach in terms of whether or not they feel like they want to be part of this organization?
I really don't necessarily think so. I think some of the problems we have with the Bears organization is a much more local problem, because we see it every day.
Right.
Whereas these GM and head coaching candidates, they're not around all the time to understand exactly what a train wreck it is, year to year with these guys, and some of the things they say that are so talking out of both sides of their mouth or making themselves look dumb. If you go back to the collaboration presser last year, this is stuff we follow along year to year.
Right.
The GM and a head coach, they look at the Chicago Bears as a charter franchise of the NFL. They look at, I'm sure they hear around the league. I mean, George McCaskey, he's a good old boy guy who's going to take care of everybody that he hires. I mean, look at what he did for Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy, letting them stay around for a whole year here last year. So they want, when the GM or head coach is looking to come here, they know George is going to be in their corner if they hire him. And beyond all of that, a GM and head coach to have a major market team like this is a once in a lifetime opportunity for most of them. And then when you add in the fact that Justin Fields, who is the diamond piece we have now to lure GM and head coach candidates, they're looking at this and they might look past the presser and may not pick it apart with a fine tooth comb like we would. They're looking at Justin Fields and that opportunity because you get it right in Chicago and you're a legend. And that's why DeMar DeRozan came to Chicago. Going to the other side town. We're an attractive place, one of the biggest cities in America, third major market, in all of the United States. So, I think it's a very attractive spot for a GM or a head coach because most GMs have got to come into another team and find a quarterback. You ain't got to do that this time around. And most GM and head coaches are going to look at this and go, hey, I get to come in here, try to make Justin Fields work with the Bears, and if it doesn't, I'll probably get another crack at my own quarterback if he doesn't work.
Yeah,
so it gives you a little bit of longevity, whereas if you came to the Bears and we didn't have any quarterback and you got that first quarterback wrong, you might get run out of town. So, Justin Fields cures all. He's the cure-all here. So I think they're a very attractive spot for most GM and head coach candidates to come to.
Agreed. I agree 100%. Bruce, what are your thoughts?
Well, let me ask you guys this. And Greg, I agree 100% with you as far as the Bears organization being, or the team as a whole being like that attraction, right? It's the Chicago Bears, historical franchise. I feel like we do have a quarterback in place. Eventually, with development and putting the right pieces around him, you could possibly take this team to another level. But let me ask you both this: like, what's your trust factor within this organization?
That was my next question.
Zero.
I mean, as great as
we have to hope they get lucky. I mean, that's where we're at.
Yeah.
We have to hope they get lucky. I mean,
and a guy that's on their search squad. I don't know what else to call it, but their search squad. One guy that kind of gives me a little bit of hope is I forget his first name, but his nickname is Soup Campbell.
Yeah.
Younger guy.
Lamar Soup Campbell.
Yeah, younger guy.
Yeah.
I didn't know who he was until. I mean, I heard him in. I heard him in
the Bears all day, every day, and I didn't know who this guy was. And apparently, he's all up in the locker room all the time and knows the real, thumbprint of the heartbeat of this team. So I like that too.
Yeah, I think he's a younger guy, obviously with George and Bill kind of being the older heads of the room, and Ted Phillips, and I don't even want to get into that crap, but Soup Campbell is a younger guy. I feel like he'll bring like a fresh kind of mindset to the room in the interview process, and he's kind of my only hope in terms of maybe influencing Bill and George in their decisions on who to hire, who to bring in. But I 100% agree with you, Greg. I really think, a clock is right a broken clock is right 2 times a day, I think is the saying.
Right.
And you kind of have to, you don't have to hope, but you want to hope that they will get lucky at the very least with this hire. And I said it last week, it's kind of our only hope in hiring just like a genius, a coaching genius. And it doesn't have to be offensive minded. It doesn't have to be defensive minded. I really don't care. It's funny because I see all these people on Twitter kind of giving their head coaching hierarchy on who they want to hire. And I saw one guy say, this coach has high upside. And I'm just like, how do you know that? How can you predict that? I just want the Bears to bring in the right guy. Just the right guy. I don't care if he's defensive minded. I don't care if he's offensive minded. Now, if he's defensive minded, obviously you want to make sure he's bringing in the offensive coordinator that we need, the offensive coordinator that has a plan to develop Justin Fields and get this offense back, or not back, but get this offense to at least average. at least. But yeah, so in terms of names or the type of coach that you're looking for, Greg, do you have something in mind? Do you have, an all-star tandem and at GM and head coach in mind in terms of specific names, or what are you looking for?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the same wavelength as you as far as what I think doesn't matter as long as I get it right. Now, my personal preference is that it's an offensive coach. I say that because when we had Cutler here, we had a defensive coach, and we kept running through offensive coordinators, and whether they're good or bad, you lose them. If they're bad, you got to fire them and get a new one. If they're
Right.
good, if we get a good offensive coordinator to go with, the head coach that got fired from Miami, that Flores that everybody wants,
Flores,
and
yeah.
he picks a great offensive coordinator that turns Justin Fields' career into a superstardom, well, we're going to lose that offensive coordinator to a head coaching job. And then
Yeah.
he's got to find a new offensive coordinator. And that concerns me. And that's why I would prefer us to get it right, first and foremost, but get it right with an offensive minded head coach, because then the offense stays in place.
That's a great
And
point.
I'm offensive obsessed. The teams that you see in the playoffs, they're much more offensive driven for the most part. I think every team that made it to the playoffs had scored 400 points or more. I don't think the Bears even got to 300. So we got points we need to score if we want to hang with the big dogs. And so I really would prefer an offensive minded coach. But, if we want to talk about names, I mean, I've been banging the drum for Jim Harbaugh since it started to become a whisper, or I guess since when he beat Ohio State. And I was like,
Yeah.
all right, you ain't gonna do nothing. This is the best you're ever gonna do at Michigan, Jimmy. Why don't you come back home to Chicago and reclaim what you did in San Francisco, taking the 49ers to 3 straight NFC championships and a Super Bowl, and taking Colin Kaepernick, a athletic quarterback who could also throw the ball. Not saying they're side for side comparison with Justin Fields, but
Right.
knows how to. And then conversely, also had Alex Smith, so he did it 2 different ways with 2 different quarterbacks in San Francisco. That would be my home run prize, And if it didn't go work out and Jim ended up being a crazy person that no one could handle, I wouldn't blame them for at least going that route.
Yeah.
Now, that
Yeah,
doesn't seem like it's happening at this point, although we haven't heard anything official with Michigan, and Michigan just fired their president because he went through some personal scandal. So who knows what's going on there? I still am holding out hope for that, even though some have given that up. Then if we want to get off the pipe dreams, I would say, if I like Greg Roman. I'm sticking to the Harbaugh tree. I like Greg Roman. I see what he's doing at Baltimore. Same thing. He was in San Francisco with Colin Kaepernick and Alex Smith. Learned how to do it 2 different ways with 2 different style quarterbacks. Same thing. Goes to Baltimore with John Harbaugh. And now he's got Joe Flacco playing it one way, solid team. Then they get Lamar Jackson in here, and they revolutionized in a lot of ways how you play the game with that type of a quarterback. And they did it very successfully. A lot of morons, and were saying Lamar Jackson should be a wide receiver. I think even Bill Polian is one of those people. Yep. So, Greg Roman's like, no, I know how to. This is the problem why we got Matt Nagy out of here. He doesn't know how to take a piece and run a football system that benefits the quarterback. He's trying to fit the quarterback to his system. Roman doesn't do that. He fits his system to what the players' needs are. So Lamar comes out, Tyler Huntley comes in. I heard, I even picked him up in fantasy. There was, if you looked on Ravens Twitter, there were people that were like, man, Tyler Huntley might be better than Lamar Jackson because of the way he threw the ball, and he also still had the running capabilities. I think that probably is going a little too far, but at the same time, that's how good Greg Roman's system was. And then the next guy came in, Josh Jackson, or I can't remember. He's been all over the place. He comes in, their 3rd string quarterback, and he played okay. Not great, but a lot better than what we do around here. And I'm sitting there like, Greg Roman has a system, and he obviously the offense is his because John Harbaugh's a special teams guy or whatever. That's how he started. So that was my number 1 candidate, but they haven't even interviewed him yet, which kind of blows my mind considering the Ravens aren't in the playoffs. Why wouldn't you at least give this guy an interview?
Yeah, it's interesting because I've seen that name float around in Bears Twitter a lot, and he hasn't gotten interviews anywhere, not just with the Bears.
Very
so
weird.
It makes you question, whether or not there's some rumblings in the background of his character. Maybe he's not.
I saw somebody point out, because he is a Jim Harbaugh guy. He was with Jim in San Francisco. Maybe people were like, well, maybe he's waiting to see what Jim does. I don't know why he would leave John for Jim. That seems like that wouldn't be very nice. But who knows? I don't know what they're doing. But it is odd he hasn't gotten a candidate, or an interview as a candidate. Now, move off him. I look at Brian Dabble. I know a lot of people are hesitant with him because they're like, well, Josh Allen is this premier arm talent. Well, I think very highly of Justin Fields. And, if you look at the way Josh Allen has ascended under Brian Dabble, again, another head coach in Buffalo that's Dabble's offense,
right.
So it's his system. He knows what he's doing. And, to me, Justin Fields and Josh Allen are very similar. People are like, well, Brian Dabble doesn't know how to run the ball. Well, I followed them a lot this year, again, for more fantasy purposes. I had Devin Singletary. They started to run the ball at the end of the year. The last month, the last 5 weeks, they committed to the run. Now, they did that two different ways. They stuck to it with Devin Singletary, even though they weren't getting huge yardage from it, and he'd end up with like 20 for 80 or whatever, and might break one, and he'd get a touchdown. Well, the other way they were doing it was running with the quarterback, purposeful quarterback runs for first downs in crucial moments of the game. So, Justin Fields is going to be able to do that. So I see an offense that would definitely fit to the style of what Justin Fields brings to the table and Brian Dabble with his system. So that'd probably be where I'd go with it. But, I mean, who the hell am I? I'm just a fan of the stands at the same time. So, those are the guys I'm looking at. After that, I start to get caught in the weeds. I don't know too much about Brian Flores. Others think very highly of him. Great. If he can bring, some fire to this team, that's why I want Harbaugh, because I'm sick of Club Dub. I loved Club Dub in 2018, but I'm sick of the Club Dub mentality.
You don't want any more of the rah-rah stuff?
No, I'm done with it. There was no bigger hype man than me in 2018. I'm gassing every player up. I mean, my old account got deleted, thank God, because the receipts on that account were horrific. If you thought my Mitch takes were bad, I had a whole thread about why Anthony Miller's going to the Hall of Fame, and I loved Anthony, but he ain't going to Hall of Fame, so I got that wrong, and I was gassing everybody up. But you know what? They were retweeting my stuff, so I couldn't help it. I don't know, really, at the end of the day. I just hope they get it right. But those are some of the guys that I have my eye on.
Yeah. I like those names. Bruce, I know we lost you there for a minute,
but
man, I asked.
I think the spirit of Virginia McCaskey, even though she's not dead, kind of knocked me off when I was talking about our organization. I'm so sorry.
But I was asking Greg, if he had any names specifically for the head coach and GM in terms of what he's looking for, what he'd want. Do you have any names in your wish list on who you want the Bears to hire?
You know what? To Greg's point, man, he threw some great names out there. I'm a Michigan guy, so it's kind of like
you are
as much as I don't want Jim Harbaugh to leave. If he comes to the Bears, I'm cool with that. Look, just get it right. That's all I want. We could throw all these names out here. We could throw we talked about the GMs earlier. I just want you to get it right. Just get it right. And I don't know what happened with Brian Flores. I thought he was doing a great job. He did a good job with that Miami Dolphins team. And I don't know what happened from a cultural standpoint with him. But like you said, you got his name out there. You got the OC from Buffalo. It's not I don't see any Brian Arians out there, from Bruce Arians, I'm sorry, from years ago. That's like a hot commodity, but I just want that, and we missed out on. And who do we end up?
Mark Trestman.
So
that was the worst
with the Bears. That I'm just like, let's not make those mistakes. Let's not make those mistakes.
That's a great point, because Sorry, Bruce, not to
No, no, go
interrupt.
ahead. Go ahead.
This is a point that frustrates me so much is that the Bears have brought in the right names before. The Bears have brought in the names that have had success in for interviews before. They just hire the wrong dude.
Exactly.
So it's like they're
Because
Exactly.
those
looking in the
guys
right
tell them stuff they
place.
don't want to hear. You know, you
Yeah,
had the Ballard come in and he said,
Ballard.
if
Yeah,
I come in, I'm getting rid of Jay. And they were like, all right,
yeah.
see you later,
And
Chris.
Ted Phillips, he wanted him moved to a different role as well, and they said no. Ted is
Right.
Yeah.
staying where he's at. And it's just it's
And I
mind-boggling.
think with the Bruce Arians thing, I think he didn't want to do the fake press conference that
Right.
Sylvie always jokes about.
And it's always over something just so stupid, man. So like I just get it right. Just
I
get
think
it
the
right,
names
man.
that concern me the most, and I kind of am hesitant to hate on any of the candidates because one of them might end up being our coach, and then I'm going
Right.
to have to support him
Right.
because I don't have any reason not to until he gives me a reason to.
Yeah.
But the names that concern me are, Leslie Frazier and also Jim Caldwell. Those guys concern me.
Yeah.
We've already seen them fail within our division. One coach for the
Exactly.
Lions, one coach for the Vikings, and they didn't do that great at it. So why would
Yeah.
it be any different here? I
With us.
get they're respected. One of them's a former 85 Bear, won a Super Bowl. It's great. I don't care about any of
There
that
you go.
stuff. What I look at, I hate the 85 Bears, but for the most part, at least I hate talking about it. I ain't got no
Yeah.
problem,
Same. Same.
Exactly.
But I hate talking
Exactly.
about it. I was 2 months old when they won, so I really
Yeah,
could care
that's
less.
what we said last week, yo.
Those two guys scare me because I've seen them fail within our division. So I'd rather go with somebody else personally. And then the other name that concerns me is Doug Peterson that they brought in. I'm done with this Matt Nagy, Andy Reid tree experience
Tree,
right now.
yeah.
I know Eric Bieniemy might have been. I don't think he's been asked to be interviewed anywhere yet. I'm avoiding the the Andy Reid tree right now. We tried
Dude.
that; it doesn't work. And Doug Peterson was here at training camp last year
Yeah.
at Hallis Hall, and I have no interest in trying this
Same.
over again with Andy's older brother Doug. No, thank
Yeah.
you. So those are the three that concern me. But at the same time, if the Bears end up hiring one of them, inside I'll be disappointed or concerned. But I'm not going to go on Twitter every day and call for the riots and the firings like I have been with Matt for the last year. I mean, at some point, as Bears fans, we got to get behind it and root for them and support them. And then if they give us a reason to nod or boo or question, that's fine. But this early into the offseason, they hire one of those three. Again, not my preference. What do I know? But I do feel like we all shouldn't, have our pitchforks out and ready for the riot right away. We should try to hope for the best. And
Right.
even though we have plenty of reasons to understand that might not happen, but let's hope it's not one of those three, and then we can all be hopeful.
Yeah, I mean, giving the benefit of the doubt to the coach who's hired, I think is definitely necessary because I mean, when we look back at the Matt Nagy hire, I feel like most of Bears fans were ecstatic.
Yeah.
And I even read some articles that were like, the Bears hit it out of the park. They hit a home run with this hire. This guy's a up and coming, offensive guru. Blah blah blah. And it's just like,
And he could have been. He just didn't have a counter punch. He
Right.
only knew one way to throw a
Right.
punch. And
Right.
as soon as that counter came, he had no idea how to counter
That was
back.
it.
but then on the opposite end, I saw someone post an old article where it said that Sean McDermott, head coach of the Buffalo Bills, was labeled the worst hire of that season. And now look at where the Bills are at. So it's just like, I mean, hindsight's 2020, obviously, but you have to just let these things, especially with coaches, you got to let it play out because
100%.
you never know at the end of the day. Now,
True.
the one thing, last thing, Braggs, just want to get your thoughts on, and then we'll let you go. But Justin Fields, he obviously had a rough rookie year. There's a lot of factors into that, but what do you think of that guy going forward?
Well, I'm certainly encouraged. I mean, he has all the physical tools and mental tools. I think his mental sharpness is something that goes unnoticed by a lot of people. His ability to see the defense and explain what he sees. You heard it a lot in his post-game pressers. Mitch, I don't know if he could see all that. I don't know. The speed of the game probably was a little too fast for him. Doesn't seem like that's the case for Justin. I think he's a great leader. I love his D Rose kind of demeanor and mentality with don't let the other team see your emotions. He talks about that a lot. That was a Derrick Rose trait that I absolutely adored. I mean, I would have ran through a brick wall for Derrick. You know, if Derrick told me to go run on the court and fight LeBron, I would have done it. All respect to you, Bruce. I see the LeBron stuff back there. But I would have done it.
Oh, no. Not LeBron.
But hey, Derrick told me, well, he didn't tell me, so I didn't do it. But, you know, I feel like Justin's that kind of guy. You know, and so I'm very encouraged. Now, it's sad that he didn't really have that it moment. You know, he basically had it against the Steelers, and then the defense blew the game at the end of the day. If you want to qualify that as his welcome to the big leagues moment. Other than that, we really didn't get one, and that's a little disappointing for a whole season to not have one, you know. And so, thankfully he didn't have any season-ending kind of injuries with the way this offensive line had problems and things like that. So that's the silver linings. He's going into next year healthy. You get a coach in here that can run a more consistent and stable offense and play to his strengths. And I think the sky is the limit, 1,000%. So, I'm really excited. I just want them to get this right with this head coach and pair him with an offensive mind that's going to take us into the next 10 years of Bears offensive futility, quarterback futility, and pull us out of this, And so I'm very encouraged. I've seen more than enough. I mean, you can see that it factor at camp, and he's held mature the whole time through the Andy Dalton fiasco and everything else. So, it's hard to get a true read on Justin. You see Foles and Dalton like, yeah, man, Nagy's a fucking moron. But Justin, he was nice the whole time about it. Very, straight shooter. You can't get the he's got a good poker face. So we don't know how he truly felt about Matt, but I'm sure he's relieved to know that the circus has left the town. And let's hope they don't, bring in another circus and they bring in something that's actually a little more professional. But it's crucial. I mean, Mitch certainly has nowhere near the talent or maybe the upper smarts, but at the same time, he did have talent, right. And and it was completely blown up, because, this team, they can't put the pieces together. They couldn't get the coach to run the offense. He doesn't know how to run the ball. He didn't come here to run the I formation. I mean, we could go all day about why it all fell apart. And Mitch holds a whole lot of blame to that, not giving him any kind of excuses. Right. But at the same time, you look at somewhere like the Browns, Baker Mayfield ain't no perfect quarterback, but they get it done because they have a system that works to his strengths, and will they ever win a Super Bowl with him? I don't know, but at least it's palatable football, competitive football, and we could never do that with Mitch. Well, Justin Fields can be the most talented, smart quarterback ever that the Bears have ever had, and he probably is, but it won't mean anything if they get this head coach wrong again, and the offense continues to fail. He will be just as much of a bust as any other quarterback we've ever had if they don't get this right. He cannot overcome it. I just have a hard time. I know Deshaun Watson played well in crazy circumstances down there. There is instances where you see a quarterback rise above the lack of talent or lack of coaching prowess around him. But I'm not going to depend on that with Justin. He needs help in order to become what we all want him to become. So if they don't get this right, it's not gonna end well. So let's hope they get it right, and Justin Fields will be every bit the Pro Bowl caliber quarterback that we all think he absolutely can be. Somebody asked me, is Justin Fields going to be ready for the Hall of Fame in 10 years? Like, slow the fuck down. Let me have 1 year where he's solid. I had a guy on a Purdue podcast ask me as a Bears fan. I was like, let's get him David Bell from Purdue, my boys at Purdue. I'll be fine with that. And then one step at a time. I'll take one Pro Bowl season to start, and then we'll go from there. But, I think Justin Fields has all the intangibles, has the it factor, has the right demeanor, has the right leadership skills, qualities. And as long as they get this coach right, we'll be off and running. That's absolutely how I feel about it.
I agree 100%. I'm super for the future. And, Yeah.
That's why
Greg.
Greg Roman. I mean, shit. You said not to cut you off. I'm sorry. I know you.
No, you're
I
good.
talk a lot, but Greg Roman. I mean, it just kills me that they're not interviewing him. I mean, the Ravens have this run, ground and pound attack, and then they
Yeah.
run with the quarterback. They do all this stuff with the tight end. You got two great running backs in David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert. You got a a quarterback that can run and throw the ball. He's a way better version to me than what Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is limited in the way he can pass the ball. He's not bad at it, but I think Justin Fields is a better passer. I don't get why Greg Roman isn't in this discussion yet, but they've still got time to interview people. I don't think the process is done yet, so I'm still giving them that opportunity. But to me, it makes perfect sense. So that's where my headspace is at.
No, I was just saying, Greg, to your point, you made a good point about Lamar Jackson not being the best passer, but to your point, they've built a system around him where it utilizes his strengths, and that's why he's an elite quarterback, because they built that system around him. I was watching, the playoffs this weekend, and one of the teams that I'm super jealous of is the Cincinnati Bengals, and what Joe Burrow has around him and what they've built around him. Again, a great running back, two dynamic wide receivers. But again, it's an offense that's built for Joe Burrow. And so, to your point, man, Justin Fields can have all the tools. He can have the great arm. He can have, but if you don't put the right pieces around him, if you don't put the right coach in place to help him develop, then to your point, he's just going to be another bust.
That's a great point. And Cincy is one of those teams where you look at, and a lot like the Phoenix Suns were last year, us as Chicago Bulls fans, we looked at them, Bulls be that team next year.
Yeah.
And you look at Cincinnati, and we're Bears fans, and we're thinking, why can't the Bears be that next year, but maybe the year after? To your point, B, there are two wide receivers, a running back and quarterback, all under years old.
Oh my God!
So they're rolling right now, and they're young, and they have to build on this. So since he's a great and think that the Bears could and should model their I don't know if I want to say rebuild, but their kind of roster rebuild.
They paired Joe Burrow with his college teammate Jamar Chase. I know Ohio State has wide receivers that are coming into the draft. You want to pair him?
Definitely,
we have a second-round pick. We don't have a first-round pick, so Jamar Chase was the first-round pick. Can't get that. But, you want to get an Ohio State wide receiver in the second round to give Justin Fields that familiarity. Great. I think very highly of David Bell. I know there's other wide receivers that I'm not as in tune with as some of the draft analysts and experts out there, but there's wide receivers to be had. Last year they passed on Rondale Moore. And I was big on him. He didn't necessarily have the craziest year ever, but that's the kind of guy I want the Bears to be looking at now. Get Justin Fields speed and weapons and let him do his thing, because we got the running backs in lock. I'm not as down on Cole Kmet. I think he's solid. I don't think he's George Kittle, but I think he's solid enough. If you're in a good an offense that knows what the hell it's doing, I think he could look a lot better. Who knows how half of these players could look if we actually had an offense that was, consistent and it wasn't a shit show.
Yes.
So, it's hard to evaluate under Matt Nagy's system. That's kind of the catch-22 about some of these players. We'd be like, oh, this guy sucks, that guy sucks. Yeah, everybody sucks in Matt Nagy's system.
Right. You can't evaluate this. It's so hard to evaluate this roster with the way the offense has been ran the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And Cole Kmet's a great point. I know Bruce is a Notre Dame guy. I've been preaching, getting Cole Kmet more involved in the offense since the beginning of last year. And so many. I mean, Darnell Mooney went over 1,000 yards this year for the first time in his career.
Yep.
Great to him. But I don't think he's a wide receiver one. I think he's a little sketchy on his hands. And
half the teams in this league have three good wide receivers. So you can call them whatever number you want, but you need three of them.
You need,
in order for Darnell to be effective.
Exactly.
Right.
If you only have two, it's still hard to be effective. You need at least three.
I agree. But the Bears definitely need that one guy, that dog, that one guy that you could. That Allen Robinson, what he was the last 2 years before he completely fell off the face of the earth this year.
Right.
And who knows why that was, but
because he hates
anyway.
being here. All right, now you can kick me off. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Hey, man, we could honestly, we got to have you on again, and we got to just talk Bears for the entirety of an episode because we could talk about this stuff.
And likewise, man, I want to bring you guys back on Brags in the Stands, and
hey, just let us know.
Talk all Chicago sports. Got a lot of Bulls thoughts. We were talking before the show, and
hey, thank you for reminding me. Your thoughts on the Bulls, real quick thoughts on.
So excited, very disappointed that Levine got hurt. Gonna put a little dent in our number one in the East hopes for the season. But I mean, talk about a fun brand of basketball to watch, and the Bears could learn a thing or two about a front office structure with Arturas Karnisovas, and then they then Mark Eversley's under him as the GM, and it all trickles down from there, but I digress. The Bears don't want to do that, but no, so encouraged by the Bulls. DeMar DeRozan, MVP type candidate, at least he was when everything was healthy and going good. Now, I think they're going to have to just keep their head above water while they go through some of these tough injuries. But Lonzo Ball and Alex Caruso are two of the most impressive players I've seen in a Chicago Bulls uniform in some time. The way they are always 4 steps ahead of everyone else. Their feet never stop moving. Their hands never stop moving. Their eyes never stop moving.
Basketball
they're
IQ,
extremely smart basketball players. And
Definitely.
to me, you can talk about Levine and DeMar DeRozan all day. They're the all-star talents on this team. But I feel like Lonzo Ball and Alex Caruso, but particularly Lonzo Ball in particular, the way they play the game is so contagious. The way they are always moving, always passing the ball, always looking ahead, always that next move. Everybody's in on that act now. And they're a dangerous team when they get to the playoffs. Young, hungry, everybody plays together. They all seem to get along. You got all the right pieces. I would even venture to say they're deeper than the 2011 Derrick Rose-led Bulls. Only difference is Derrick Rose ain't nobody better than Derrick Rose on this team, but that's a high bar to reach, 2011 Rose. But I'll take it with the way DeMar DeRozan's playing, and Zach LaVine ain't no slouch either, and that's why I feel like this team is deeper than that team, because Rose, we were always looking for his sidekick. Well, LaVine and DeMar are each other's sidekick, so you kind of pick your poison with those two superstars. So cannot wait for this season to get down to the stretch. Cannot wait for playoff basketball at the Madhouse on Madison. I'll be there. I know that. And let's just hope this team is healthy enough to make a legitimate title run, because Brooklyn and the Bucks are the only two teams that scare me, and even them, if we got to face them, so be it. And I fully expect a 6 or 7 game series with either one of those teams the way this Bulls team plays. So really excited for that. I grew up a basketball fan first. I live by the school of Michael Jeffrey Jordan. I was raised by Michael Jordan, so I lived in a house full of women. So the person I looked up to in my life was Michael. And awesome. So I love when basketball is going good in this town, and it definitely is right now, even though we've got some injury bugs going on, but we won't talk about
it. Trending downward right now, but definitely a lot of season left. Well, we appreciate you hopping on, Greg. No
problem.
Love.
If Purdue had lost today, I wouldn't have came. No, I'm kidding.
You had a long drive back, man.
No, they won, so I can talk all night. I'm so excited.
There you go.
If they had lost, I would literally be crying. So I love chopping it up with you guys. You guys are great.
Hey, we appreciate you hopping on, man. Sure. We definitely appreciate your perspective. If you guys don't, like I said in the beginning of the show, if you didn't hear it before, go subscribe to Brags in the Stands on YouTube. He has a co-host, Trey Tunes, and they're killing it right now.
Trey's the man.
Yeah, Trey's great. I want to talk to him about his musical talents, because that guy,
he's got all sorts of talents, man. Trey's a talented dude.
True.
He makes he's a good balance for me, because I have no talent, just a bit.
That's not true. That's not true. But yeah, we appreciate it, Greg, and we'll have to have you on again soon, man.
Sounds good, guys.
Thanks, G.
All right, bro. Take care, man.
We'll talk to you soon.
Take care,
See
man.
you, bro.
Bear down.
That's a good dude, man.
That's Greg.
Greg
It's a
Braggs.
good dude.
Love hearing that guy. Um,
Yeah,
love watching his podcast too. He does
and
great work.
he's a dude, Boilerman.
Huge Purdue. He goes to every game. It seems like every home game.
Yeah, yeah.
And that actually, they had a really good basketball team this year. So,
It's good. It's a good thing
Yeah, they're
for him.
ranked 4,
Um, I I know the
Are
new
they 4?
rankings came out today. I know they're definitely top 10, I believe. But yeah, they're
Yeah.
playing really well.
Yeah. Well, that was our Bears talk for the day. Again, appreciate Braggs hopping on and giving his time to us, and he definitely didn't have to do that, but we appreciate it. Moving on to the Chicago Bulls.
Chicago Bulls.
We have Bulls, like I said in the beginning. We have not talked Bulls all season. We had that small hiatus for like we said in episode 1. We were gone just for a little bit of time, but we did miss all of the new acquirees for the Bulls, all the new signings. We did miss the beginning of the season and kind of talking, how this Bulls team would gel. Late on the Bulls talk, but nonetheless, we're going to give you guys our thoughts. I'm not going to go too much into the Bulls signing everyone and all that. We know the
Right.
Bulls roster; they're one of the best teams
Right.
in the East. They're ranked number 1 right now, but with the 4-game losing streak, that's kind of dwindling.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
before we Bulls are at right now, Bruce, give me your thoughts on the Chicago Bulls roster as it's constructed and kind of how the season has gone along so far, and from what you see.
A healthy Chicago Bulls team is a top 5 team in the East. I can't, man. It's hard because a healthy Brooklyn Nets team. I think them and Milwaukee are the team to beat in the East. KD, he's out 4 to 6 weeks now, with I think a knee sprain. So you look at the Bulls, man, and right now they're just down so many players right now. Zach LaVine, he's out with an injury. Lonzo's out with an injury. Alex Caruso, he's been out, but he's on his way back. I think they got like 3 to 4 power forwards that's out. I know Javante Green, Derrick Jones, Patrick Williams out for the year. So it's just they're plagued by so many injuries right now. They went through the whole COVID thing. And I just think like when you lose that much talent due to injuries or COVID, whatever, like it's going to show, and it's starting to show with this 4-game losing streak. To Greg's point, he talked about Lonzo Ball and Alex Caruso, and as much as Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, and to their credit, they're having amazing seasons. Shout out, to all the haters who thought like, oh, they're not going to be able to play with each other because they're too ball dominant. Zach and DeMar was like, come on, we're going to show them what we could do, and they're one of the best scoring punches in the league. So shout out to them for really just finding a way just to make it work, and they're definitely making it work. But to Greg's point, to me, Lonzo Ball and Alex Caruso are the 2 guys that's really gonna make or break this team, and you see that, especially on the defensive end. You see how when those 2, and look, no disrespect to our rookie Ayo, no disrespect to Kobe White. To his point, we improved defensively. But they are not Alex Caruso and Lonzo Ball when it comes to the defensive end. And those guys are huge. Alex Caruso, I mean, he's just Mr. Do-It-All on the defensive end. Lonzo Ball, he'll guard your best player. And I'm not saying he'll shut him down because it's impossible to be a player these days. But he'll make them work. So once this team gets back together, like I said, I think they're one of the top 5 teams in the East.
Oh yeah. I agree with damn near every point that you just made. I was as soon as the season started, I knew the Bulls would be good.
Yeah.
I didn't buy all of the hate that the national media was giving the Bulls. I didn't buy the whole DeMar DeRozan is the worst free agent acquisition of the season
I never
BS.
understood, man. I never understood that.
I was a little not skeptical, but I wanted to see, and we talked about this in years past with the Bulls. I wanted to see how Zach LaVine would play with another potential All-Star, and we got Vooch in a trade last year, and we got to see Zach kind of play off of Vooch a little bit last year.
Yeah.
But I wanted to see how Zach LaVine would play with another ball dominant swing or guard.
Yeah.
And man, it's him and DeMar DeRozan are just like you said, one of the best 1-2 punches in the league, and it's been great to see. I mean, Zach is even more unselfish now than he's ever been as a player.
Yeah.
And seeing him develop his game even to a whole nother level, because we've been seeing him develop and develop and develop year after year after year,
Right.
take his game to heights that no one thought that he would take him to, but seeing him play within the offense with DeMar DeRozan and kind of like knowing when to back away when DeMar's hot, giving the ball to DeMar down the stretch, because we know DeMar is one of the best closers in the game.
Yeah.
King of the fourth is what Bulls fans have kind of are calling him now. So yeah, to see that has been great. And yeah, to your point about Lonzo and Caruso, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't watch a whole lot of Lakers basketball last year. I didn't really know what to expect from Caruso. I know he was a great player. I saw your boy LeBron kind of angry when he found out that Caruso was that he switched teams, went to another team.
Right.
So that was intriguing to see, the fact that LeBron James would be mad that one of his teammates is gone. Usually you see LeBron trying to get rid of one of his teammates.
Yeah, let's not overreact. Let's not make this. Let's not overreact.
I mean, it's true though. It's true. But yeah, it was interesting to see LeBron actually upset that he lost one of his teammates. So it kind of speaks on Alex Caruso and what kind of player he is. But yeah, man, they've been the glue. They've been the glue of this team. And when they're gone, man, when Lonzo's off the court, and like you said, no disrespect to Io, no disrespect to Kobe White, because they've played well this season. I mean, Io, we'll get to it in a second because I want to talk about him specifically. But you could feel the basketball IQ kind of drop
Right.
once off the court. As Greg Bragg said it perfectly. They're always like 2 steps ahead of whatever the opposing offense is. And yeah, it's been great to see that. I did want to talk about Vucevic and our thoughts on him, because the Bulls played today and they lost. They lost to the Memphis Grizzlies, and I mean, that's a tough team given all the injuries to get a win off of. The Grizzlies are playing ridiculous right now. Ja Morant is an MVP candidate. He's playing out of his mind right now. It's tough to get in there and get a win, but with all the injuries, basically your new 1-2 punch is DeMar DeRozan and Vucevic.
Yeah.
Vucevic scored 7 points today in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And he's been kind of on that trend lately, and he was on that trend in the beginning of the season. He kind of got hot, towards like the middle between now and the beginning. He kind of started to feel his groove, and everybody was like, all right, Vooch, I see you. And then he fell off again. So it's kind of been that up and down, inconsistent play from him. And the only guy that reminds me of is Carlos Boozer. And we talked about it a little bit before we went live on the show, me, you, and Greg. But He's definitely giving me a little bit of Carlos Boozer vibes. Um, I think he's a better offensive player than Boozer was. Obviously, he's a better shooter than Boozer. He does have a 3-point shot, even though he's shooting 33% this year from the three. And I feel like a lot of his 3-point shots are wide, booty hole open. I feel like a lot of his shots are, man,
Ew.
because you get the you get the penetration. No, pause on that too. From
Oh, we're
I'm not
so
I'm not
immature.
tying those two things together, but you get the penetration from guys like Ayo, from guys
Yeah,
like Zach LaVine, from guys like DeMar DeRozan, who's a
right.
mid-game or mid-range just
Ridiculous. Yeah,
aficionado right now. I
yeah,
mean, the dude looks like Kobe Bryant out there with his mid-range game.
yeah.
So he kind of draws the defense in once he gets the ball on the block or on the elbow. But yeah, it just seems like he's just so inconsistent with the offensive game. And you're talking about a guy who was averaging 20, 25, and 12 in Orlando, all
Hmm.
stars galore over there. But what are your thoughts on Vooch?
You know what? And talked about
The vibes before the show. And then shout out to homegirl shot. She actually, I was telling you,
he actually tweeted like yeah, this dude is low key Carlos Boozer. You know what? I'm a play devil's advocate. I'm gonna kind of protect Vooch here, just because I think his like earlier in the season. Um, I mean, I know it's Orlando, and then he come to this team last year, and the Bulls team last year was hot garbage, right? His teams in
Hmm.
Orlando, they were hot garbage, and so yeah, he was the man in Orlando, and he put up numbers. I mean, just for his career, he's a double double, which I didn't know until I looked up at his stats earlier. I just think he's trying to kind of find his role, especially playing with a guy like Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah,
He's literally the third option now.
right.
And so we look at a game.
back to the Boston game.
He scored 20 that game. He had like
6 assists.
very efficient. I think he was like very efficient. Then you come back to a game today, and like you say, points or what 7 points? Did you say?
Let's get 7 points.
And so yeah, the up and down is kind of frustrating, but unlike so we needed when we go back to Carlos Boozer and we go back to that Derrick Rose team, we needed Utah Carlos Boozer. Like that's what we got excited for, right? Like we
Yeah.
who was the point guard? Oh my God.
Uh, oh,
Darren Williams, right? And now that we got Carlos Boozer, like we're gonna have our version of Darren Williams and that Carlos Boozer in Utah got frustrated for because we needed Carlos Boozer to go with Derrick Rose because we had nobody else. From a
right.
scoring aspect, this team is a little Vooch to be that
2-10 guy that he was in Orlando. We just need him to just
keep doing what he's doing because eventually
when his team gets healthy, he's gonna be that third option. And what we've seen is how to play his role as that third option. And so I just look at it as, man, look,
so far that
he could be the big man because there's not a lot of dominant centers in the league today. Getting his team healthy, getting the right pieces in place, and then I think that's when you'll see Vucevic kind of
be the Vucevic
that we want, and just being consistent. Right now,
it's
everybody's just kind of
trying to
again.
help. I think that's
We want to highlight. Well, look at
what he's doing in
his game.
So just be patient. Be patient. You know me. Look, I'm a defender, man. I gotta defend him.
You, you are. I mean, it's valid. It's valid, and your points on the comparison between Boozer and Vucevic in terms of expectations is spot on. Like, we don't need Vooch to be, because if you look back on that 2010-2011 Bulls team when we signed Boozer, Boozer was kind of the uh, second option in terms
Yeah.
of who the Bulls were going to sign in free agency that year, because they were looking to get D Wade,
Wade.
LeBron, Chris
Yeah.
Bosh, one of those
Melo.
guys.
Yeah. Was that the Melo year too? Was Melo in
Melo
that?
was 2015, I
Oh, okay.
believe, 2014. So soon after that. But yeah, that free agency, we were looking to get one of the best, other superstars in the league, but then we had to settle for for Boozer, which no disrespect to Booze because he's had a great NBA career, but yeah, our expectations for him were sky high. My
Right.
thing with Vucevic is just sometimes he does not show up when when is needed. He doesn't show up when when he's on the court with Zach and Zach's kind of he's on a cold streak. DeMar's on the bench. Okay, Vooch, we need you to kind of run the show right now until DeMar gets back in the game.
Right.
And Vooch kind of doesn't show up sometimes. It scares me for playoff basketball. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
For during the
Yeah.
regular season, I can stomach it. I can give him the benefit of the doubt. Okay, Vooch, let's just get him back next game, whatever.
Right.
But for the playoffs in a 7-game series against the Brooklyns, the the Bostons, the Phillies, if we see them, because you think about the knock on the Bulls this year, it's that they're small. They're a small team. And you
Right.
named the power forwards that are injured, and what's his name?
Javante Green.
Javante Green, who's
Yeah.
what, 6'5"?
Yeah, he's about 5'11", a 5'11"
he's our
power forward.
But he's our starting power forward. Like, that's crazy to me. If obviously Pat Will would be the starting power forward. He's 6'9", but when we're not going to see Pat Will for a while. So you consider that, and I know a lot of teams in the NBA are small. Like, that's kind of been my defense in terms of when people say that the Bulls are small. The entire league is small.
True. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you look at maybe the 76ers. They got Joel Embiid. You look at Denver.
Right.
They got Jokic. Like,
Right.
those are the only few teams that have like a big man that's like a presence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You talk
So-
about
Go back.
Gobert. Yeah, that's another one. That's
Center.
another one.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I don't think that the Bulls are small, but we definitely need. Vucevic is by far the biggest dude on our team,
Right.
so we kind of need him to be that in terms of, you know what I mean, like the presence on the squad. And I'm not saying he
Yeah.
needs to be Joel Embiid. I'm not saying he needs to be, Shaq. I'm just saying that he needs it. Just be consistent. Just be
Yeah.
consistent.
Yeah.
If you want to be inconsistent in the regular, if he's one of those guys where it's like in the regular season, because we haven't seen Vooch in the playoffs yet, so we don't
Right.
know. You know what I mean? Like I said, he was with Orlando. They were garbage. So we don't know what playoff Vooch looks like. So hopefully, I got my hopes up for the guy.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna put him in Boozer territory yet, because I was rough on Boozer.
Yeah.
I was rough on Boozer.
Yeah. I think we just have
in the beginning.
today's
I think we all just had a moment where we just like, man,
big white Carl. Don't
start
start
doing something, man. Like, yeah. So it was frustrating, but I think it'll be okay. We'll be all right.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
I'll be on the Booch bandwagon.
I'll let you carry that one.
All right, cool.
I'll let you be the one to talk me off the ledge when you need to talk me off the ledge.
I got you.
Anyway, when I wanna talk real quick about our guy Ayo, because
Yeah.
So,
he's he's been quite a surprise this year. He's a second round pick for the Bulls this year, and man, it's amazing, amazing that 30 or how many teams are in the league? 30, right? Total teams.
Yeah, something like that.
So,
Yeah.
so 29 teams passed on this guy, and that's insane to me. Because I mean,
Yeah.
this dude should have been a first round talent. Obviously, his play has kind of shown that. I mean, he's been one of the best rookies in the league, even after being a first rounder. But he had another double double today after posting his first double double. Was it yesterday that they played the Celtics, or was it Tuesday, 2 days ago?
Saturday night.
Okay, 2 days ago they played the Celtics. But yeah, 2 straight double doubles. The first one was in assists. This game was in rebounds. So the dude literally does it all, and he had 4 steals in this game as well. His defensive prowess is very evident. I mean, the dude. I remember watching him guard Trae Young. Atlanta, and he did a damn good job on one of the best offensive players, best shooters in the game, in Trae Young. The dude, he doesn't back down from a challenge. Obviously, his basketball IQ for a rookie is up there. I mean, the dude looks like a veteran on the court. And I wanted to get Bruce's thoughts on Io once he gets back. All right, Bruce, what are your thoughts on our guy from Chicago, Io Dosunmu, out of Illinois? What are your thoughts on the kid so far?
So I followed Illinois a lot last year because I got me that he went to, and I get it, like NBA scouts and whatever, athletic, the super duper athletic dude that could jump out the gym. Player as well. And so if you look at all the top draft picks, they're like 18, 19, 20 years old. And Io, I think he spent 3 years at Illinois. Morgan Park kid. His effort is what I'm impressed to defend the best player. He's gonna get up. They had the Dallas when they played the Mavs. I watched the game and how he was just going at one of the best players in the NBA, and he was frustrating Luka. He was frustrating. They used to guard back in the day. Like you could tell Ayo's from Chicago the way he's guard. Like and
yeah, very Patrick Beverly.
No matter how much you flop it, oh my God, I played against Pat Bear. Like he's a dog, man. Like Ayo's a dog, and I just can't believe to the second round. But to the Bulls' credit, shout out to AK and Eversley. Is we're not bringing you in because you're a Chicago kid. Maybe that has something to do. Saw how talented this kid, but he's like even his shooting. He was a slasher at Illinois when he first came there, and you just saw the improvement. Shooting and even now coming to the Bulls, like I mean, I think he's shooting over 40-something%. You know,
almost 45% from 3-point. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he's shooting like maybe 54, 55% from the field. And just to his point, man, I mean, to your point,
54. Yeah.
Yeah, to your point, like he's a steal, and I think he's one of the big for this team. And you can never have enough talent on your roster. Like we come from a Chicago with the Bulls where we were so lack of talent, and you know what we wanted.
You know what I'm saying? I think it's like we're down at those days. So
You know,
we're just at a point where we're collecting.
this talent, and Ao, he's part of that. He's part of that process, man. Moving forward, and I'm excited for the kid. I'm excited for the kid, not just because, not just because he's from Chicago, but I just love his effort. I love the fact that, and he wants to be not just look. I'm gonna be honest with you, being in
the starting lineup.
that because I'm just
He can run
a team like.
and he's learning, and you can just see just how he's just growing
and getting.
He got the dog in him, man. You can't teach that. You can't teach that.
Have that is for.
But we
Yeah.
have to depend on, like, no more Kobe White being the savior. That's exciting. Kobe White, he's turned into a good player, but he doesn't have to be the savior for this organization anymore, bro. I'm so excited about
Yeah.
that.
And not just that, but we expected Kobe White to develop into like a true point guard. I mean, there were people that, I mean, I was one of them. Not that I was, expecting him to, but we wanted that. We wanted him to be the starter. We wanted him to come out and run the offense and be the guy who could average, I don't know, like 7 assists maybe a game. But he's just not that guy. And I credit AK and Mark Eversley for acknowledging that and seeing that that's not his game. So they went out and got Lonzo Ball. They went out and got Io, and they got guys who can kind of take that off of his shoulder. And all you got to do is just bring him off the bench and just ask him to score. Just say, hey, Kobe, score.
And then even to what Billy
Donovan has done
as a coach for this team, and just
is
just putting his players in the right position. He's done with Kobe White. To your credit, Edie, just look. That's when you can come off the bench and just light it up. Slash to the bucket, do what you do. His jump shot has improved. And so to Billy Donovan's credit, like, to his credit, he's just put Kobe in a position where
to be a six
man, if he keeps, putting up the numbers that he's putting up.
And beautiful to see.
That's just beautiful to see, man. So it's exciting. Bulls basketball. We're back. Championship. Well, let me stop. Let me slow down. Slow down.
Yeah, it's crazy how far we've come. And you look at the Bulls roster, I mean, a couple of years ago, and you're thinking, wow, like how far we have come as Bulls fans to see this just completely rebuild and have some basketball smarts in them to recognize that and and just completely make a winner and go, make some moves that I love that they made moves that people question and they worked out. That's when you know you're a good GM. That's when you know.
Exactly.
That's when you know you're a good GM, is when you make a move and people are questioning it, like, what is he doing? And then it ends up working out because you see something that people don't. That's what I wish for the Bears. And I wish that they're 2 steps ahead of us. I'm sick of being of us being the fans that are 2 steps ahead of them. And I know I said this last week, and I know we're not talking about the Bears anymore, but I wish the Bears would make moves and make us be like, what? Like, what are they doing? And then it ends up working out, and it makes us all look stupid because they're actually smart. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see where the Bulls can go, where they can take this. They obviously have still a long season to go. The one question that I did want to ask you, Bruce, before we end this episode is: do you think the Bulls are true contenders this year?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Only because I mean they just have the pieces that they have. And look, I'm not drinking. I'm not talking about a championship because
I mean that team in Brooklyn, man. KD just
change how those boys they scare me. And Giannis is to me, Giannis it's
Kevin Durant and Giannis and Steph. They're just three of the in the NBA right now. Notice I didn't mention.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's surprising.
He's just kind of in his no. He's kind of in his own world, where it's just like, those
his
guys.
Own world is a great saying for that. Yeah, he's definitely in his own world.
Yeah, I mean,
okay,
whatever. But the Bulls, man, they just.
I think the Bulls are. I think, man, they could. The only teams that really scare me is Brooklyn and Milwaukee.
Embiid is a hell of a basketball player. Probably being the best centers in the league, but they really don't scare me. And then who else we got? Miami. Miami's a sleeper, but
again, I just think with the pieces that
really don't scare me either. So I'm saying that
the only team that I'm really looking at, I'm just like, ooh, is that.
Yeah. Especially with Patrick Williams out, he's the only guy that I could really see. I mean, there's no one stopping KD and there's no one stopping Giannis. Like, there are no such thing as KD stoppers. There are no such thing as Giannis stoppers. They're going to get theirs in any series that they're going to play in. So you can only hope to contain them. And Patrick Williams is really the only guy on the squad that I could see kind of not stopping them, but giving them a little bit of a fit to where the Bulls could have a shot in a 7-game series against those two teams. And hopefully, there's talk of him coming back before the season ends, which that would be great. But yeah, those two guys in a 7-game series, having to beat them 4 times out of 7, it definitely scares the bejesus out of me. But
let me ask you this: do you, if you were Mark Eversley and AK, let's say don't come back, do you make a move?
If he's not coming back, yes.
Or did you? Now you said that
he's going to come back kind of towards the end of the season. So come trading deadline, what do you do?
Oh man,
do you sit back because you no pun intended, but do you sit back?
Do you sit back with the hopes that Patrick Williams returns? I was trying to get that was a lot. Pat back. Or do you be aggressive and know that you got this window of opportunity?
It's the thing, the chemistry on this team. Like you see it, you see how.
Or is that overrated? Because is that chemistry thing overrated, or is that important? What do you think?
I think it's important, but I also didn't see the Bulls gaining this kind of chemistry so soon in this season. Like, that was part of the reason why I was I knew the Bulls would be good, but I was like, when will they be good? Because I don't think they're going to be good in the start of the season. It's going to take some time to build that chemistry, but they built chemistry right off the jump. So I do think it's important, but when it comes to the trade deadline, like, who are you trading? Like, you can't trade Patrick Williams right now because he's injured. So you're looking at guys like Kobe White. You're looking at Io. You're looking at those are the only two guys that I can think of if you're not putting Patrick Williams on the trade block. So, I mean, do you really want to trade either of those two guys? Kobe's just now starting to find his rhythm within the offense. He's playing really well. Io, obviously, we just talked about him and his ascension from being a second-round pick to now one of the best rookies in the league. I don't know, man. I don't know. This is where I say in AK I trust, because they've got us here so far, and if they decide to make a move and they trade one of those guys, then I'm gonna be a little bit upset, but I'm gonna stand behind it and see, like, all right, if they think that this is what's best for the squad, then I'm with it. But it's gonna be tough, man. That's why those guys are paid big bucks, because it's one of the biggest question marks right now. The question, I think the biggest question you have to ask yourself if you're AK and Mark Eversley is, are the Bulls ready to win right now? Are they ready to win right now this year? Can we win a championship? If the answer is yes, then you make a move. And that's the $1 million question, because a lot of people think the Bulls can win it. A lot of people, fully healthy with Zach and DeMar rolling. And some people think that they can't. Some people think they don't have a chance. So we'll see.
I will say this.
See.
I think the chance
This year, no disrespect to Phoenix or Golden State.
I just don't see neither one of those teams,
The Brooklyn Nets or
Milwaukee. And so if the Bulls somehow happen
that East, those two, Goliaths in the East, and they have to play a team. Utah, Golden State, or Phoenix,
the Lake,
probably not. If they have to play one of those teams in the West,
that doesn't scare me. That doesn't put a fear into me like Brooklyn and Milwaukee.
Yeah, I agree.
But again, it's getting past those two teams.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I just hope that the Bulls get healthy. I hope that once playoff time comes, they are fully healthy, because fully healthy, like Greg Bragg said, I think this team is a lot deeper than that Derrick Rose team in 2010, 2011. We have guys that are coming off the bench that are starting caliber players. So it's going to be interesting. It's definitely going to be interesting. And who knows? The Bulls might catch a break in terms of injuries. Now, I'm not wishing injuries on anyone, but a couple of years ago, you saw the Atlanta Hawks, who weren't like a world-beating team. You saw them get to Eastern Conference Finals, one step away from the NBA Finals. So you never know. Bulls might catch a break. We'll see. True. But
That's true.
anyway, we want to thank everyone for listening. We want to give another shout out to Greg Braggs for hopping on and giving us his thoughts. And make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel. Not just subscribe, but hit that bell on our YouTube page. It lets you know whenever we go live, so you don't have to, go searching, because we know that's what you're doing. We know you're like searching through the webs. When's Deep Dish and Sports going live? We have to see this. This is like NBA Finals type, viewing pleasure. So just hit that bell. It does the work for you in terms of letting you know when we go live. Follow our social medias. It's at Deep Dish and Sports on Instagram, at Deep Dish and Pod on Twitter. We do post content on there as well. So, Bruce, any last thoughts?
Happy birthday to MLK. Shout out to the great Dr. Martin Luther King and what he stood for, man. It's amazing. So,
shout out to Betty White. Today was her birthday, I believe. She would have been 100.
One of the great actresses.
She would have been 100. Yep.
Yeah, one of the great actresses of all time. Yeah, man, this was fun.
Always, man. I love this.
Keep it rolling.
Yeah, glad we're back. Let's keep it rolling. We'll be sure to be on next week, so make sure y'all don't miss it. We love when people join us and interact and comment and all that. We appreciate it. And also, pretty soon, I want to have some call-ins, some live call-ins.
Ooh.
We're gonna shoot out a phone number, and y'all gonna be able to call in and give us your thoughts.
Dang.
Maybe give Bruce, his some crap, because we know a lot of y'all like to do that, especially the LeBron hating ones.
But
Why?
But anyway, don't call just about LeBron James, just to call about LeBron James, okay? Bruce does that enough. If it's brought up and you want to give your thoughts, whatever, but let's keep it Bears and Bulls as much as we can. Chicago sports. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, it was fun. It was a blast. Again, thanks Greg Braggs, and thank you everyone for watching. And we'll talk to y'all next week.
peace.